Hi, everybody. It's Pat, and I am here for the premiere of my new show, Straight Out of Henderson. I'm so excited. It's Henderson all the time, all day long, every day, and we're going to show you and take you places that you don't even know are here. Trust me. But first, I want to introduce my special guest, Bill Bokelmann, Mr. Henderson himself. Hi, Bill. Welcome.
Hey, Pat, thanks for having me today.
Well, I couldn't really imagine anybody else who I would put on this show because I've known you for the time I've known you. You've just been so involved, and I needed somebody who could really help me shape Henderson and what it's really about and what's really here and things like that. So I thought of you. I know that you just you were with the Chamber. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in the Chamber?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So my last position with the Henderson Chamber was as the foundation manager. So actually I was running the Henderson Business Resource Center in downtown Henderson, and it was a lot of fun. And I really have looked forward to sharing some of my experiences with you while we're talking about downtown Henderson.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking about more than downtown Henderson. We're going to be talking about Lake Las Vegas, the district, Anthem, Black Mountain. I called the city and I said, okay, I need to know which streets bound Henderson. And they were like, I can't tell you that because Henderson is the most jiggity-jaggedy, bordered city I've ever seen. So tell me, why do you think that is?
Well, the city runs kind of elongated on the southern portion of Las Vegas and south of Las Vegas, and we always say our neighbors to the north, which would be Las Vegas and then North Las Vegas. But the reason is because over the many years the city has annexed property, and as developers have come in and wanted to be part of Henderson, they've been able to go out and locate those pieces of land and then include them in the city of Henderson's geographic what do you call the line, the map.
The map.
There you go.
Well, that makes sense because as I looked at maps, I've been studying everything, Bill. I'm going to be Mrs. Henderson, okay? But it's very that's why I didn't know Lake Las Vegas was a part of Henderson, because why is it way over there and, things like that. And so, Bill, I am from Colorado, a town called Aurora, and it really, Henderson is almost identical in its growth and how it's changing and its diversity and things like that. And I think that's why I'm so comfortable here. But why are you in Henderson, and how long have you been here?
Okay. So when I first moved back, I grew up in Las Vegas, and when I first came back, I'd seen the amount of growth that was taking place, and I asked a real estate friend of mine, where would you live if you were to move back? And he said, I'd look at two places. I'd look at Anthem, and I'd look at Summerlin. And I got to tell you, the Anthem area was calling to me because as a kid, that's where we used to hike and go collect these rose quartz. And they still have them up there. I used to take my daughter out there. But I've lived in Henderson since 1999, and I'm in the same house in Anthem. I'm one of the first homeowners in Coventry at Anthem. And I just love it. I wouldn't be any place else in this valley. Henderson is the place to be.
Well, I completely agree with you. You've made me cry. That's how moving that story. No, it's kind of windy out here, so that's why that's going on. Well, I think that there's a niche for everybody in Henderson. When I first came down, I lived in Summerlin for a year, and then I moved down to Henderson because my son really wanted to be in Henderson. And
that was smart on him, by the way. He got you over here.
Oh, he went. Trust me, he went to Summerlin kicking and screaming. But I love Summerlin too. But Henderson is just unique. Like I said, friendly, quaint. It's really high end. It's got its other side, where you really see that Henderson needs to be a giving community to support a lot of the things that we see around town. Okay, I'm not going to go off on a tangent. The first thing that we're going to talk about when we get back is the different wards and some of the different communities that are here. And Bill's going to help maybe, since he's been here a long time, maybe talk about when those communities were founded or incorporated or established or whatever, and give us a better view of what's going on here in Henderson. But first, take a look at this. interesting was the layout of Henderson. As I looked at maps and different things, it just seemed like there was no real, like we were talking about before, no real planning. Like, I don't know. And I understand that growth sometimes isn't uniform, but it just seems even more oddly put together here. What are your thoughts about that? And does there need to be a delineation or?
Yeah, if you're talking about the wards
Yeah.
that each city council member represents, at some point in time it's going to have to be redrawn, only because as West Henderson continues to grow, and there's some amazing developments that are going to be going out in West Henderson, that population growth is going to shift. Our population for the city of Henderson is going to shift out that way, and there will definitely need to be some redrawing of the ward layouts. Right now, each city council, what I think is really cool, each city council member has a piece of Water Street or downtown Henderson, so all of the wards connect to downtown.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a great deal of focus to redevelop Henderson. There's a true redevelopment district in downtown Henderson, and the amount of energy that's starting to take place on Water Street and in the downtown area is amazing. You're going to see over the next several years some really great new businesses opening up. Residents, there's going to be a residential, kind of a multi-use residential right next door to South End, which is where we're at. And then even down on the north end of Water Street, there are some new businesses going in. You've already got Love Lady, which is probably the newest. Love Lady Brewing Company is the newest business down there. There's going to be Juan's Flaming Fajitas right next door. So it's an exciting time in downtown Henderson. But getting back to that redistricting or redrawing of the wards, it's going to have to happen just as we continue to grow west.
Well, okay, so tell me, just so our viewers can kind of get an idea, because I now know I knew nothing about Henderson, which is probably why I got lost for the first year I was here. But, like, tell the viewers something that's in Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, so that they can have an anchor or kind of get an idea of a landmark there.
Okay, so you've got basically East Henderson, which is John Mars's ward, and that's Lake Las Vegas. That's
Ward.
I think that's Ward 4. You're going to ask me
3.
the ward
I think
numbers.
it's Ward 3.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll make sure we know.
Get the wards correct. If you would have told me that you were going to ask me that, I would have had those down really well.
Sure.
But John Mars covers basically East Las Vegas, including East Henderson, including Lake Las Vegas. That's probably why I put Las Vegas in there. But Lake Las Vegas, Tuscany. Then the southeast portion is covered by Councilwoman Jerry Schroeder, and that covers a lot of the area that's, of course, south of us down to, I believe it's along kind of Low Water Street. But as you're heading out toward Boulder City, all of that area is represented by Councilwoman Jerry Schroeder. And then you've got the Green Valley area and kind of north is represented by Dan Stewart. And then really West Henderson, everything like McDonald Ranch, Anthem, and even further west is represented by the newly appointed Councilman Dan Shaw.
Yeah, that would be my council person, which I just learned a little while ago. I mean, I know, Bill, this is the funny thing, and you all know this too. You don't know who your council person is? Come on now. This show is going to help you understand all the nuances of Henderson, who's running what's happening where. And I think it's important to know who's running your city. And if you know who your council person is, that's even better, because that's the person you're going to call when the stuff falls apart in your neighborhood. Sorry, council people, but that's the truth. So the wards, it just seemed like when I was looking at the map, Bill, that some wards seemed much bigger than others. Now, they may not have much to govern in that ward. Maybe there's a lot of land that's not built and stuff like that. But do you, just looking at the wards as they are now, do you think that there's one that's just too big for its bridges, so to speak?
From a geographical area, Absolutely. There's probably Ward 2 is the biggest ward, I believe, geographically. But again, that encompasses all of the vacant land out west of Anthem, west of Seven Hills, west of Inspirata. And there are quite a few developments that are planned for that area, which then as that becomes populated, they're going to have to rezone or redraw the ward maps in order to make sure that there's a true balance of populations within each ward.
Bill, you know what I'd like to do is get up and take a little walk down the street and see what we find down on Water Street. We're going to be back in a second, but for now, we're going to head on down. There's a car show happening on Water Street, and I just want to get a taste of it here, and Bill's going to interview a couple of people if we can find them. So we'll see you in a minute.
So today we're down here at the car show on Water Street. This car show is in conjunction with last Friday, which was last night. But so we're here with Eric Grimm. And Eric, you've got an Edsel here. It stopped me in my tracks because it's got it looks like everything's original on it. So tell me, where did you get this car? Why did you get it? Tell me a little bit about the background on the car.
Well, I was looking for a wagon that was original paint. So I looked for about 2.5 years, and this came up on eBay, and I ended up picking it up, and it was in Washington State. It sat in a field for about 15 years, and then took me a couple years working on it here and there, and I brought it all back, got it all running again, rebuilt the engine, transmission, and left all the paint and everything, did a little pinstriping on it, and here it is. Lowered it down.
So the one thing you mentioned, I was asking you earlier, was how do you find parts for a car this old? And you told me.
Well, eBay, there's a lot of parts on eBay, but there's also a few Edsel part sites online that you can get parts from. So surprisingly, there are a lot of parts available for it.
That's cool. And so what's your affinity to a station wagon? Does that take you back to when you were a kid or something like that? Because I can remember my family had a 67 Ford Fairlane station wagon with the seats that faced to the back. Is that kind of what you were thinking?
Well, we never had a station wagon when I was a kid, but we did. My parents rented station wagons when we went to California on vacation in the summer, so maybe that's part of it, I guess. I just wanted something a little different, different than a muscle car or hot rod or something like that. So.
And how long have you had this car?
I think I bought it in 2013, but I didn't get it finished until 2015.
Is there anything unique about this car that you'd like to share?
The most unique thing about it is the bamboo headliner that I put in it, which is hard to see.
Yeah.
People don't usually see it, but it was a lot of work. It took about a week to do.
You also mentioned you found some papers under the seats, and it indicated that the car might have originated in Sacramento.
Yes, I found a library card from back in the 60s. It was at Sacramento Library, and then I guess from there it went up north to Washington.
So what year is this car?
It's a 59.
Okay, well, great. It was a pleasure meeting you today, and have fun. This is an awesome car. It does take me back, as I mentioned, to my days and as a kid in a station wagon. It wasn't a 59. I was only 2 years old at that time, but a 67 Ford Fairlane station wagon. Station wagons were all the rave, I think, back in the late 50s and even into the mid 60s, and now and probably into the 70s. And now we've got more of the minivans and the crossover SUVs and things like that. But this is a beautiful car, and thank you for speaking with us today, Eric. Pleasure to meet you.
Well, everybody, it was fun spending the day with my buddy over here, Bill Bokelmann, Mr. Henderson. He's going to get sick of me saying that. Bill, did you have a good time?
This is an awesome morning. Yes, it's been a great day. Finished up with Sunset Pizzeria for lunch.
Yes.
Great cheesesteak sandwich.
It was a great sandwich at Sunset Pizza. Now they're going to owe us a free lunch. But Bill, thank you so much for coming out and being a part of my first show. My first, what am I calling this? I guess the first show of Straight Outta Henderson. And we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. You're going to learn so much about Henderson. So make sure that you follow us on Facebook under Chat with Pat Show, as well as Straight Out of Henderson. And stay tuned for our next show. We really appreciate you watching. And Bill, do you have some last words?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. It's a beautiful day in downtown Henderson, and Henderson has some amazing things to offer, and a lot of great things that are happening in Henderson.
Yeah, and we hope to be the ones to show them all to you. So take care, and we'll see you next time.